So I'm building a stirring animatronic for Fallout Halloween, and this is how I did it. So I was going through some boxes in the basement and I found a whole bunch of motors. This is a DC motor, there's some more DC motors in here, but then I found a turntable. Now I had made this 6, maybe 8 years ago in order to have a turntable for items that I wanted to display. Never really used it after a few times, but plugging it in, turning it on, you get a fairly okay turning something. And that got me thinking, why engineer a new device when I could just use this one or the other motor that I had bought at the time to make a stirring cauldron animatronic. Now this particular animatronic is going to go inside a pot, and that pot is going to be on the cooking station for our Fallout themed Halloween display. So I've got the TYC 50 motor here, and that's a synchronous AC motor. This one plugs in, and so it's rated for 120 volts. And a few of the parts that I need to make this work. We need a coupler, and that's going to go onto a mending plate. It'll attach the two together so that we'll have the motor driving the coupler, which moves the mending plate, and that will be attached to our wooden spoon. Or in this case, it's going to be a wooden dowel that looks like a spoon. Now here I'm putting this inside a mason jar, and so I'm using a lid to plan out exactly where I'm going to put the motor and what holes I'm going to have to drill to mount it and allow the shaft to turn on the other side. Why am I using a mason jar? Well, I can a lot of things, and so I have an awful lot of mason jars, lids, all sorts of things that I can use inside of the Halloween display since they won't be visible. And because it's a mason jar, I can alter it for the particular height of the pot. Now here I am going through and using drill bits in sequential order so that I don't accidentally tear up the lid. Because sometimes, like here, if the drill bit is just too big, it will start ripping up the lid, and that can get away from you. So instead I'm going to use a hand router. This is just a little Dremel type tool. I'm using a fresh sanding disc, and I'm going to use that to open up the hole and to deburr it so that I don't accidentally cut myself. Now here I've used the tool, I've opened it up, and the sanding disc is now not very useful. Here the coupler's going in and the mending plate's attached. This gives you an idea of how it's all going to fit together. Next, I need to put the holes in for the mounting screws. So I just mount the motor, trace the holes, and then I will go off, drill them. Got to make sure the drill fits first, get the right size, check to make sure that it actually goes through the mounting holes, and there we go. Now with the magic of editing, the drilling has been done and the mount is ready. So now I'm just going to take some M4 screws, some M4 nuts, and put it all together. Let's just take a moment. Now, you might wonder, why would I want this kind of an animatronic? Spooky installations all have ghosts, and this could be used as a self-stirring cauldron. It could be used with a dummy, and then the dummy's arm doesn't have to be articulated in any way, which would be a very complex articulation. The animatronic can do the motion. You could also use it for a number of different types of rotational illusions. It doesn't have to be a cauldron. It doesn't have to be a wooden spoon. In fact, with a couple of motors, you could even do more complicated animations. But for now, we'll just settle for our stirring cauldron. And here's the basic mechanism working just fine. Now here I am actually attaching the stir stick, making sure the screws are the right size. Go ahead and pre-drill so I don't accidentally split it, because this is the only piece of scrap that I have. And then by hand, putting it on the mounting plate, and then attaching that to the motor. All in all, even with filming, this probably took less than an hour. The hard part is actually making sure you have all the pieces. Making sure you've got the wood screw, making sure that you've got the right size mounting screws. In my case, they're all M4s, and I have a ton of those. And then the mounting plate. The mending plate was a really great find. It was maybe $2.50 in a hardware store. And even though I'm calling it a mounting plate, they're sold as mending plates, usually meant to span a crack or a gap in some sort of furniture or wood. In this case, it's the perfect size for the arm for our animatronic. And here it is actually in action. You'll see in the back there's some open vents on the wall. That's because I've been delayed while they install central air in our apartment. And we're one step closer to Fallout Halloween.